And so I had to place boundaries on myself. Like, you know what I mean? Which is so funny. Like internally, I'm like, you need this and you are going to do this to show up better for your kids, your family, for yourself. Like I had to treat myself like I would anybody else. I think that was like really the epiphany and that moment where I'm like, I am going to take this. And once you get into that space, it becomes a habit because anything can become a habit. It can become a habit for yourself, but you're also teaching other people what's important to you and you're training them on what you need, how to treat you, you know.
Step right up, folks. You're now entering It's a Circus, where parenting isn't always a show stopping act, but it's certainly entertaining. I'm your host, Elsa, here to prove that no one really knows what they're doing, and that's perfectly fine. Let's have some real conversations, peel back the layers, and remind you that you're never alone in the madness. Let's get the show rolling. What an episode I have for you today. I am so excited to kick off this new year with my friend Anna. I have worked with her in the past at a couple different companies and watched from afar as what seemed like a seamless, beautiful transition into motherhood. And as we get honest here on the podcast, really understood where she's at. She has some beautiful wisdom and things to feel inspired by. I loved getting to chat with her, and it was such a wonderful conversation. I can't wait for you guys to listen in. So, without further ado, what are we waiting for? Let's go. Here is Anna. Hi, Anna. Welcome to It's a Circus podcast.
Hi, Elsa. Oh
Oh
my
my
gosh, I can't
God.
believe I'm seeing your beautiful face.
Girl,
Come
I
on.
am so excited for this. And I kick off every question with this question is, have you always wanted to be a mother? And who are you a mother of, and how long have you been one?
Have I always wanted to be a mother? I don't know.
Yeah,
Like,
I feel
I
that.
think when I in my when I was in my 20s,
Mhm,
early 30s, I don't I don't know. I think
mhm,
I always imagined myself having kids,
mhm.
but that deep desire. I remember sitting at my brother's dinner table, and they had my nephew who's a toddler at the time, and I was working a ton, I was traveling, my husband and oh, well, not my husband, my boyfriend and I, we were foodies. We love to travel, we love to eat, we love to go to, like, the coolest bars and things like that, right?
Yep.
So I couldn't imagine it. I was like,
Right.
Not yet," and I was
Mhm.
early 30s, and then, I don't know, once 34 hit, I was like, "Okay, yeah, 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 I'm ready. Let's have a little human," and that's when I started to pressure my boyfriend.
Stop. Okay, I need to understand this because one, you and your husband are just absolutely stunningly beautiful. And I remember hearing around like what felt like just like a really solid couple. So I'm dying to know this story, please.
So we've been together, let's say 15 years now, 15
That's
years.
beautiful.
Um,
I love it.
yeah, friends, drinking buddies, like the whole
Mhm.
thing, like
Mhm.
to go out, experience things and just had a really good time. And we were living together and it was kind of like, okay, I'm ready. And it just kind of just hits you. You may not think that time will ever come. You're never ready, just do it. But it does happen where you're like, okay, I'm ready for the next step. And I don't know if he was. I think for men, it's a little bit different because they're thinking, like, okay, all the preparation, the ring, the house, the wedding, the
Right.
this, the that, and all that. So we just had conversations and naturally we went that direction. So here we are. And I guess going back to your question, I am a mom of two fabulously sassy little people. I'm like, where did you get all that sass? My God. Oh, I can't wait to get into their personalities. I will laugh, I will cry. But, that so Sawyer is 6, my little wild, rambunctious, cerebral little boy, and Scarlett is now 9, who is just this sweet, sort of tomboyish, loving sassy, fierce little girl. And I mean, they're just like my heart and soul. It's
I
crazy.
believe they're 9 and 6.
I mean, they might as well be like
22.
17.
Yeah, I understand. Like, our oldest is, like, almost 4, and I was like, "I don't get what comes next." Like, we're dealing with, like, a man here. Like, I don't get it. It's so bizarre.
You know what a friend told me before I became a mom? She was like, once you get no, I already had Scarlett at the time. She was like, yeah, once you get used to a phase and you have it down, it changes. And I just, that always stayed with me because it's so true. And I don't think it ever ends because at this age, I'm still trying to understand my relationship with my mother. And, you're still growing and you're understanding why your dynamic is what it is, but you don't realize it until you become a mother. And that just, those learnings they never end. It's wild. Just have these epiphanies if you're open to them.
Oh my god, yes, and it's so wild wild just to, like, put it very
It's a
mildly.
circus.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. It is such a circus. Um,
That's a great
you
way to put it.
Right.
Definitely a show at times.
Yeah, exactly.
What type of show? I'll let you fill
It
it.
could be a haunting one, it could be a terrifying one, it could be the, like, show in the back that's scary that no one should go and see, like, that's the circus man.
Oh my gosh, totally.
So, you and I go way back, and I love this. I don't know, do we go back further than 13
Take it way
years?
back.
We go, like, really, like, super far back, actually.
Yeah, I mean, so Bare Minerals,
Yeah.
what a what a time.
Mhm.
Um, love the brand. I
Mhm.
thought you were such a powerhouse in your role and just such a queen, always just fierce, fabulous. Your team loved you, and I was like, "Ah, that Elsa girl, she's gonna do big things." And I mean, I guess it's just sort of a fast forward, and we got to work together again, which was really nice at the Honest Company, launching Honest Beauty.
Mhm.
And I think for me, it was really special because we hit that company at its precipice
Yeah,
where they were just exploding and
I
Jessica
agree.
Alba was doing such big things and
Yeah.
just another powerhouse woman where I was just like in awe. And I love these powerful women who can balance and juggle because that's just a constant. And sometimes you have your dips and then other times you have your highs, but it's always ebbing and flowing and moving. And so I love our industry so much because we have so many of those powerful women to like aspire to be and to look up to, as you find your own way and your own path. And I've definitely gone through different phases based on the age my kids were in.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's talk about
Let's do it
the honest
because you and I were at Bear, and, I mean, you talk about, I mean, at this point, I don't think people quite remember, but it was such an iconic brand and one that really changed and elevated a lot of the industry. So we were there, and I felt you and I probably left at a good time because I think it was like that was like the tipping point to where, in my mind, was maybe starting to decline or become a different brand than what we had started with, right? And
percent.
we both went over to Honest, and I think it was both, like, kind of like a wild move for us. Or I will
Yeah.
say for me specifically, like, I mean, I had people calling me being like, "What is your problem? Like, why aren't you staying? You're about to be whatever, whatever, whatever." And I was like, "It's not happening. And I've been here for a decade and I grew up here. I'm like a baby. Like, let me go and experience something else." And I'm so happy we landed where we did. Um,
Mhm.
but what a wild ride. And for me, I mean, I was only there for a year, and it was, like, such a pivotal, uh
Totally.
only a year, I know, and it was, like, a very pivotal, like, insane, intense, like, year as it was. And Anna coming from Bear, we knew of each other and knew each other and had worked together at a previous company. But what happened to you at Honest is you had your first baby.
Gosh. So that was an extremely pivotal time for me as well.
Yeah.
So I just gotten engaged
Ooh.
before I left Bear.
Okay.
So my husband engaged and I just turned 36.
Wow.
And my role previously with Bear was I was a senior regional manager. So I managed a territory which was just Western North America. And I loved it, traveling all the time.
Total boss babe.
Um, Loved my team.
Yeah.
It was so much fun,
Yeah.
and I transitioned. So, and someone else we worked with at Bear, Ryan,
Yeah.
who I just absolutely love and adore.
Shout
I
out
haven't
to
talked to him.
Ryan. I know, me
Yes,
neither. We need to. Okay.
we need a reunion.
You do.
So he brought me on. We had worked together. He was on the education team, developing content, creating all of these magnificent tools and programs, etc. I always thought he was absolutely amazing and just so talented. Anyway, he left to go to the Honest Company, and we had worked together with a few times when I was a manager, a senior manager for field, because I think it's important to sort of differentiate because I he brought me on at the Honest Company in a completely different capacity. And that was so crazy. I mean, he literally had a moment where he was like, "Find your confidence." And I was like, "I have no idea what I'm doing." I know how to execute these education programs and these tools and train people and manage people and, all of these things, but writing and developing content,
Different skill
I'm
set.
so
Yeah.
yeah, I'm new to it. So it was just a completely different role. Anyhow, he helped to guide me, but I still over that year, I was just kind of like, I don't know if this is for me. I love managing a team and developing people, da da da. So that caused some inner turmoil. And at the same time, I just got engaged. A couple of months later, got pregnant. And so navigating through all of these things it was just such a crazy, interesting, challenging, but rewarding time.
Yeah.
So, I everything is a learning, and that year was most certainly that for me.
Wow.
But he just guided me through, these new things that I was learning, and he's like, "Everything's gonna be new. The second time around, you're gonna get it, da, da, da."
Mhm.
And, I mean, from that experience, it's led me to where I am today, and just
Totally.
if he didn't give me that opportunity and supported me, I wouldn't be. I just owe him a ton of gratitude and thanks. Um, but doing it while pregnant,
Do yes.
0 confidence.
Yes, because you and I came from a very established brand that had been rooted and tons of people and processes in place and hierarchy that was very clear and like clear career paths to a complete and total startup, which
Yeah.
that alone is like such a
Oh,
hard transition. And then we're like living in startup land, and that is a very strange land to live in. And then I think, um, yes, lots going on because we were in the beauty. We were literally launching a brand, and Honest Company actually is a like
yeah.
yes, exactly. So
Yeah.
they're doing something else. We're doing something else. It was a very strange time. And you're pregnant. So was this pregnancy planned or was it just like a whoops a days?
No, it was kind of planned. We had we had purchased our first house together, and then we got engaged, and I was kind of like, "Okay, let me start planning the wedding," and realizing sometimes you can't afford your own taste. It's like so I went the completely opposite direction and, like, "Let's have a baby first,"
Oh my gosh,
that
cute.
yeah, at that time I was 36, yeah,
Yeah.
so let's go.
Right. Right.
And so we did that, and then once we had Scarlett, we started to plan our wedding and, all of that, which the planning was minimal. I had started a new job and I was like, let's just keep it really simple. Like, what do we want to do here? We want to be married. We want our daughter to be. So we just kept it really simple. But um, yeah, I think, just sort of going back to honest and being pregnant and all of these different changes and being in a CPG, launching a beauty brand, the startup world in and of itself, which I've grown to love because it is nice to have structure, but what I've learned is that it's better to build it, having the experiences that you've had. I've had quite a few experiences since we last worked together, and picking up from the best of the best and knowing what works and what doesn't work, I would prefer. I like the startup life, even if it's the company that I'm with now. We've been around for a long time, but there are processes that are constantly shifting and changing, which sometimes make you feel like, okay, let's blow it up and start
Mhm.
over.
Mhm.
So having experience of a startup, I think, is so critical for any career person.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't know. I think thinking about it as I'm saying this out loud, doing it while you're pregnant also makes you prioritize accordingly.
Mhm.
Like, I won't run myself to the ground, like,
Mhm.
ever,
Mhm.
because I'm like mommy first,
Mhm.
me first. And once you have your boundaries in place, I think you could do more and you're confident enough to give as much as you can to the companies that you work for, to your boss, whomever, but deep down, like, well, they have to treat me well. And,
Mhm.
you just, I think those learnings are really just so important, so critical as you navigate through motherhood as well as your career. And those are the two motherhood, wife, and then just your career. Those are the pillars of like one's life
Yeah.
for me anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Okay, so how is that? Because and I know it's 9 years ago, so I'm asking you to, like, go back into the archives of your brain and be like, "Let's remember those times." Um, because you were in a new job, at a new startup, and lots of changes. Oh my gosh, in a new house with, like, your fiancé. Like, what? Lots of changes. And then, one, how was pregnancy for you? What was like the mat leave process? How was leaving work? How was coming back to work? What kind of like that little bubble? What was that like?
So I think being pregnant at the Honest Company was like the best thing in the world because it was all like around babies. Like
Yeah,
that was the crux of the brand.
right.
And I have to say, the best, oh my gosh. I also have mommy brain. So
Yeah,
I
here.
just blank out like that. Um, what is the gift? What are those?
The diaper
Yes, the
castle
bundle, but
bill.
what does it call it, like, when you have a baby shower?
Oh
Jeez.
geez.
Oh, that happened to me a lot. I was like Peter, our designer, we would be working together, and
Oh
I'm
my
like, "Okay,
god.
as we're creating this workbook, what's that page, with
Mhm.
the numbers, and it tells you what topic." He was like, "The table of contents?" And I'm like, "Yeah, like that." Um,
That's amazing.
anyhow, okay, so yeah, I just mommy brain. Okay, so the best thing about working at the Honest Company while I was pregnant is because everything was like surrounding babies and things like that.
Yeah.
So the crib I got a discount on.
Oh my
Like my
gosh.
I was gifted for my baby shower, um, the 1-year supply of diapers. Like,
Ah,
what?
what?
People.
Oh my
I
gosh.
know, I have the best team. So that was really nice. And then I was on the education team. And so
Mm,
just all of the learnings and understanding of how to have like the cleanest products in your home,
mhm.
particularly with a newborn,
Yeah.
it was just so perfect. And I mean, it was overwhelming as well because we're going, going, going. And, I guess you take a moment when you realize it's like it's too much. And then when I went out on maternity leave,
Yeah.
I just completely went on maternity leave. I'm like, bye work, see you later, having a baby.
Mhm.
And really closed that off and then focused on the next. And I think that's also just like you really have to be present. People talk about it all the time. You when you're a mother, it's like you really have to just put the phone down, shut your email off, and like really focus in on your kids because you will miss out. You can't just do 50-50 or 60-40. You really can't do that because it's unfair. And what ends up happening is you get really flustered or frustrated if you're like trying to work and trying to spend time with your kid because your kid's going to want 100% of you. So I'm probably jumping a little bit of ahead, but um, yeah, I think the first pregnancy was so key. When I came back from maternity, I was like, I want to stay on maternity, just for a little while longer. But by the time, I settled back in, it felt good to work. And I've always had this vision because my mom was a working mom, and I always thought she was such a boss. And like when I'd call her in the office, her secretary would just have to transfer me over, and I just thought that was the coolest thing. Um,
I love
I
it.
just always I just always knew I'd be like a working mom because I have a daughter and I want her to know there are no boundaries and you could do whatever you want, whenever you want. All you need to do is work hard. Like do whatever you want, but just be sure you work hard. And like all of these teachings and things that I implement that I like try to share with both my kids. I probably drill it a little too hard, but I think it starts at such a young age. I mean, I'm 1. Like,
I know.
so, but I mean, I've had phases where I've taken a couple of no, I think just 1 sabbatical. I've taken 1 sabbatical, and after 3 months, I was like, "I'm going back to work."
Yeah. When was that?
So there were a couple of moves in between time. So after Scarlett was born, I left the Honest Company and I took a promoted role with a brand. It was very short lived for various reasons. But then I went to another brand. My old boss, lovely Ryan, he brought me on, and we started working together at Morphe. And so while I was at Morphe, I got pregnant with Sawyer, and while I was pregnant, my husband also got a promotion with the company he was with, and so we relocated to Dallas.
My
So
God,
the
I
a
forgot
lot
about this for you. Yes.
so I was 6 months pregnant when we moved to Dallas with a 2-year-old, and my husband's starting a new job, new city, never moved out of state before. So it was really exciting. I think I really just like change, even if it's a little crazy and
Yeah.
hectic,
Yeah.
you know. It's I know you've done a couple of moves
I was
as
just gonna
well.
say, I like feel that sentiment so hard. Yes.
You moved to Austin, and then now you're in where in
Florida.
Florida are you?
Sarasota.
Sarasota. Yeah. Do you have family out there?
My husband's mom is out here. So, I know, we moved to Austin in the pandemic to get a house and have a baby, which we did. And then we immediately
Yeah.
had a second baby, which was planned, wild, crazy, but like planned because I had kiddos at 38 and 39. And then
Yeah.
real quickly realized that we needed some sort of just family support, and not even from like a watch our kids, but just like a you're down the road, tell us we're doing a good job, like that type of support. And then w- we did, just like no hesitation, like let's just go figure it out. And weird. If you were to ask me like 3 years ago if I would be in Florida, I would be like, are you insane? But here we are.
Oh my gosh. Those moves make kids resilient too. Even though they're little, I think those
I
core
think so too.
memories.
I think so too.
Yeah, I mean, so strong. We don't
But
give them enough credit.
so strong, so resilient. I know. And just like, I mean, I'm always like so touched and flabbergasted. It's like literally all they need is just like mom and dad. Just like, who cares where we are? Who cares what we're doing? Like, where are you guys?
We're the ones that make it complicated.
I know. I know, seriously.
It's
But Okay, you're in Dallas. Okay, so I like vaguely remember this for you. Like I remember being like, "Oh, she moved," all of this kind of stuff. So how long were you in Dallas for? And again, like crazy.
Yeah, not long. I was working remote at the time. I was with Morphe.
Mhm.
It was great. I had phenomenal partners, and obviously a wonderful boss that really kind of supported me in this.
Mhm.
And things were good. I had an office. I mean, what you get in Dallas versus LA, it's so different. And we just had this beautiful house. It was so nice. We're like, we're gonna raise our family here. And I had a few cousins in Dallas and Fort Worth, and so that was nice. And so we were building our base, raising our kids. Our family was flying out to see us often, and then COVID and you know displacement. And so at that time, my husband was displaced, and I got a new job. So he was taking care of the kids because we pulled them out of school, obviously.
Yeah.
And that was interesting. But I also think it's really good for dads to be that core and pillar and not just the mom. I
Mhm.
think like these dynamics of like the mom always being, the caregiver and all of that stuff. I like to see that change, and I like to see the roles reversed at times. And it's especially because we have a boy and a girl.
Yeah.
Like, I want my son to see that he can do both. Like, he
Mhm.
can be the breadwinner, but then he can also be the full-time caregiver
Mhm.
and create the activities and do the things and take care of dinner. And so my husband and I have just kind of now we're partners in all of it. We've always been, but roles shift. I know you've been with your husband for quite some time, but roles do shift just depending on like what life throws at you. So with that, so I started a new job, and it was insane. Like, I loved it. I learned so much. It's just when you're thrown into the fire and you're like, I'm gonna butcher this, but you either like survive or burn. I know that's like not even a saying. I was embers. Okay.
I love it.
It was it was a really good role, but it we were the brand I was with was on fire and, doing really well. It was a skincare brand, and COVID time, that's what you wanted. You wanted skincare. And so we were doing all of these things, and it was just so crazy and very, very busy and super stressful. And I was sort of this one man show. And if you've ever been in a position where you're the one man show, it's kind of like you're wearing multiple hats, and you're just kind of trying to navigate. And if you were going to be held up anywhere during COVID, I was glad that it was there because we had a lot of space to just go to your corners if it got a little wild and hectic. And it was also Texas, so
Right.
we moved around a little bit, and just we drive around, and we weren't like totally cooped up. I've heard so many different stories when it came to COVID, but all in all, it was fine. But at the end of it, my husband and I were just kind of like, okay, when COVID ends, where do you want to be? And we're like, in LA.
Yeah.
So with a 1.5-year old, and Scarlett was probably just turned 4 at the time, we moved back to LA. We sold the house in Dallas, and started to rebuild. So we lived with my in-laws for about 3.5 months.
Wow.
I've never even had roommates.
Mm.
It's definitely, I mean, so grateful that they let us get back on our feet and, all of this, but it was just with work and the
Yeah.
craziness, then the kids, and then Brian starting a new job and living with your in-laws. It was probably like the hardest time of my life because I'm just so used to being solely independent.
Yeah.
And it was definitely crazy. But I guess you go through that to just you you're just tested. But definitely in retrospect, that's probably one of the hardest times of my life. Oh God. It's like on the verge of breakdown like every day.
Okay. Okay. It's so funny that you brought that up because I was going to ask you. And I recently have asked somebody, and I recently felt that we recently had like our hardest year, hopefully. But there is, and tell me because you're going through massive transition. You're not in your own space. You have two small kids. I mean, that
Yes.
that is legit recipe for like absolute insanity. And were you guys employed at this time? So were you both trying to like work or yeah,
Yes. So when we moved to LA, that's when, Brian was able to get back on his feet. Like he had to take a step back and just watch the kids at this time. But once we got to LA, we were still living with his parents. He was able to look for a job. He got a really good job, which was great. And so now we're trying to find our next home. And for me, it just got busier and busier and more intense, where it was just like anxiety and, all of that starts to settle
yeah,
in. Verge of breakdown every single moment because all of these things are falling on you. And
right.
if you have all of this pressure, you can't work in
No,
the capacity that one you can, what you can really give when you're just so pressured. And that was really hard because then things started to fall through the cracks, and that's not my work ethic. So I was getting down on myself. My confidence was just crumbling. And that was that moment where so going through all of that, I also still felt like after I got off work,
yeah,
I had to still cook and I had to like
no,
get the
yeah,
kids together, blah da da, and like just all of that stuff was still, on me. And then added to that, I'm like, okay, do I have to make dinner for everybody? Like after I get off work, and
my
it just
gosh.
and I was getting pissed. Like,
Of course you were.
really causes a lot of friction between you and your partner.
Yep,
And then, so being together for a long time, there are all of these things thrown at you, and you have these challenges in front of you, and it's about how you get through them and how you work it out. And at the end of the day, I think like as long as you maintain that partnership and knowing like we're working toward the same goal, that's how you sustain a really strong relationship. And you always have to work on it. Oh my God, always. And even the times where you're just like, I don't want to work on it. You need to work on it. It's like you have to force yourself to work on it. And because if your relationship isn't solid, everything falls apart. Everything. Like the poor kids are the ones that suffer
yeah.
if you aren't working. Look at this. Look at this thumbs up.
I have no idea what's happening.
They like what I'm saying. Who's this tech company? They like it.
They love it.
Oh my god, that's so funny. Um, it's the universe giving me a thumbs up.
I mean, I'm here.
Anyhow, but I think about that all the time, and it's like when you're arguing with your spouse, I mean, that's a completely different conversation. It's just like your kids are the ones that feel the energy, so in tune with energy, and like you just have to make sure you have to put yourself first. You really do. You have to put yourself and your spouse first. And I didn't do that for a really long time. And I'm still working on it because like I always put my kids first before me, before anybody, really. So, I think it's a constant recalibration and reevaluation of like what you're prioritizing. Um, oh, Elsa, there's just so much to talk about.
I know.
I
And
feel like and
And
like
oh my gosh, no, you are perfect, and I don't wanna, like, mess any flow because I feel like you're so onto something. But how did you learn that you have to put yourself first? Because I think that's a really, really tough lesson. And what does that mean to you?
so I guess going back to when we were living with my in-laws, I was just giving and giving and giving, and I was just so depleted, right?
Yeah,
I mean, to the point where I would just I would just be crying and like giving Scarlett a bath, and she'd be like, "Are you okay?" And
yeah,
they just know, and I think it's totally fine. I don't need to be this like strong pillar. Like I never cry. I don't have any emotions. It's like no, I am sad.
right.
She will just. She's like, "Oh, it's okay, mom." And I'll explain to her.
Mhm.
I think that's really important too. Like, I'll explain to her, like, this is why, this is what I think I need to do. And she'll listen. And I hope as a young girl, she remembers it and she puts herself first to be able to show up for her kids in a better way. So, one of the things that I wasn't doing that's really important to me was working out. And boundaries the boundaries that you set for yourself, it's not just like your job, it's also like your spouse, your
Mhm.
children, like, "Hey, kids, don't cross my boundary." Like, you really have to just anyone and everyone, like, you need to reserve space and time for yourself, and I only started to get better at it recently, and, I mean, gosh, don't ask when the last time I had a facial, but it doesn't even just mean that, right? Like,
Right.
it's it's what I do for myself now that I find precious is even though I wake up early, I wake up at 5 a.m. every day,
Mhm.
and I love it,
Mhm.
'cause the universe loves it. I'm really gesticular, maybe that's what's happening.
A little bit.
I wake up at 5, I get my coffee, I listen to either a book or a podcast as I'm getting ready to do my makeup, and I just have a nice quiet morning. That is self-care for me. I don't like to be rushed. I like to take my time.
Love that.
So, slow mornings, what a luxury, even
Mhm.
if the rest of the day is, like, crazy,
Mhm.
but I like crazy, and
Mhm.
it just balances, right? So and then the other thing, the what I wanna touch on is just, like, working out. So, working out was such an important and vital part of my life prior to kids, and I really had to make a concerted effort to carve out that time and literally just say, "You are taking care of the kids, and I'm gonna take this hour." But even then, well, like, my husband will be like, "Go, take your time. You You deserve it, you need it, go."
Mhm.
There's been that. But even then, I'm like, "Oh gosh, I better hurry because now I have to, cook dinner, I have to get the kids in the bath, and I have to da da da." But we
Right.
do it to ourselves. And so I had to place boundaries on myself. Like, you know what I mean? Which is so funny. Like internally, I'm like, "You need this, and you are going to do this to show up better for your kids, your family, for yourself, like I had to treat myself like I would anybody else." I think that was like really the epiphany and that moment where I'm like, I am going to take this. And once you get into that space, it becomes a habit because anything can become a habit. It can become a habit for yourself, but you're also teaching other people what's important to you and you're training them on what you need, how to treat you. So I think yeah, it's just recently.
It's it is it is so hard to do that. And I think we like underestimate how hard it is. And it sounds like you have kind of gone through an evolution of what that means to you. I too have gone through an evolution of what that means to me. I mean, I think at one point it was like I had to get out of the house. And so that was self care, which sounds insane. But it was literally like, just get me in the car, get me out of here so I can just be by myself. That was like self care to me. And I think the act of putting your, I mean, and I would just say self care is like mental health, like just putting that in front of like anything is really the catalyst to like move out of some of those like real difficult situations.
They're still so little and they
Mm,
need you like 24/7. I feel like
mhm,
there will be this phase where they're so self-sufficient and my husband and I talk about it all the time, like, pretty soon, they're not gonna wanna have movie night every single Friday or camp out in our room
mhm.
and, these things. And so we're just really savoring all of these moments. And so I think that comes into play also, where it's like, "Oh my god, it's gonna go away really fast. Should I?" should I choose this or that? And then I go back to, if I do this, I'll be much happier. I'll be, the potential for me to yell at any given moment goes down.
Right, exactly.
Working on that.
Yeah,
Oh, oh my God, you have 2 boys.
I know.
What like, what's the energy like? What's their demeanor
It's
like?
insane. So it's just like straight like physical activity at all times. And it's so funny because we will plan like stuff where the kids will like physically wear themselves out, but like if they have to get energy out, their little bodies know that and they will just like run laps around the house. Like it is actually insane. Like they won't stop. It's just like back and forth, or like around the couch, around the couch. It's just like intuitively, they're just like, this is how we have to like, I don't know, be a being. So that's insane. And then I mean, everything is physical. So if it's not that, then it's like, let's wrestle, hold me, let's do this. I don't know. Let's do all these things. So they are crazy. And then the oldest one is like, he's like our emotional wave. So it's like lots of big feelings, then we are fine. And like we just kind of like go through the motion. And then little one is just like steady Eddie until he's not. And then it's insane. And then he's back to being fine. So it's wild.
And it's so funny because when you have 2, you can't help but compare.
Oh,
I
yeah.
like, you have to keep it in mind, like, don't compare and,
Right.
all of that, even a boy and girl, but, yeah, that boy energy, and Scarlett has a lot of energy too, but Sawyer was, like, another level. I remember myself saying to I mean, I just remember 2 things, saying to people, like, "If we had a chandelier, he would be swinging off of it," and the next and I would say that to people who were like, "Wow." I just look at Sawyer and just be like, "Okay." Um, tons of energy. He was diagnosed with ADHD, and the more you learn about it, I mean, it really required, Brian and I to understand what he needs from us, and I think with that, it made us better parents because you toggle. So for he and I, we toggle from, like, gentle parenting to, I don't know, insane parenting. It's just like, and then it's kind of like, "Oh, it's okay," I don't know, it's just so you find your own path when it comes to parenting, but
Mm.
when you have a child that needs a little bit more, like, hyper intelligent, but the way their emotions are and the way they absorb information and energy, it's just really interesting. Scarlett, I think, internalizes things, and she's quite steady and very, very calm. So she tries to navigate through it as well. Oh gosh, and don't get me started on, like, the sibling fights. I don't know if you've experienced that yet, but it gets, well, for my kids anyway, it's just kind of like I'm reffing all the time. It's interesting, but then they play so much. So having 2, I think, has been such a gift. Like, we prayed for Sawyer, and I remember, we were trying to get pregnant and, like, down on my knees, just, like, took the test, down on my knees, like, "Okay, if you God, like, if you think we're ready, great, but we just really want this," and you just praying, 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 and it turned out
Um,
positive. So grateful that Scarlett has this, like, partner in life, and just trying to raise them to my biggest fear is that they won't be close, but people have told me, like, if they fight a lot, that means they're gonna be close, and I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna hold you to that." So,
You're like, that means they'll
but
be very close. So great news.
I think it's, I don't know, I just think the energy is good, and I actually really love to hear when people say, like, "My boys are crazy, and it's so wild," and it's just, I love to hear it because boys are meant to be, like, wild, like, you know? So I enjoy it. A few years ago, I was kind of like, "Ugh." this is too much. But, now that as the children grow up, as Sawyer grows up, it's kind of like, oh, they're supposed to be like that. You want them to be wild and crazy. You kind of reel them in versus like pushing them out. I
It's
think for
true.
me, that might be a little bit more nerve-wracking for me. So, yeah, I don't know.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Well, first off, Scarlett and Sawyer are the most beautiful names on the planet. They're so cute, like such good names.
Oh,
I
thank you.
love.
I feel
Um,
like some Sebastian kinda cool.
I
I
know.
love the name Sebastian, by the way.
Okay, that was
Like,
like one of our fave names ever. So,
so good.
so good.
So strong.
I
Yeah.
know. We call him Sebi. Um, but yeah, I know. It's so crazy. Naming a child is like a whole nother podcast. Like legit. Talk to me about the ADHD diagnosis. How did you guys find that out and what changes happened?
So, we kind of had an inkling.
Okay.
Oh, first off, I feel like I have ADHD.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. Who doesn't in these
so
days and age?
I really do think, though, I could sense it because I have a bit of it where I rarely sit down. You'll never catch me sitting there watching a show like midday or anything like that. There's just too much to do. And that's how I prefer to live my life. And so I'm like, bop, 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 bop. If I'm upstairs, I'm putting a frame up. I'm gonna run down and get, I don't know, another nail. But while I'm getting that other nail, I'm gonna start lunch and like doing all these things. So I could see this in him. And he was in Montessori and his teachers would provide feedback, right? And in talking to them, I stayed really close to the teachers. I think that's one key thing that every parent really should do is just like stay close to your teachers because they're with your kid. I mean, my 2 kids, they were going to Montessori and like school and after school care. I mean, they were there from like 8 to 5:30. So they spent a lot of time with my kids. And so really kind of talking to them and understanding the behaviors. It was 2 to 3. It was kind of like, okay, he's wild, he's rambunctious, he's a little boy.
Mhm.
Um, fine. And then the school director was like, should would we should try to get him assessed and just, kind of follow his behavior patterns in class and just get just let's talk through it and what they find. Brian and I were kind of like, we'll do it ourselves. And so
Mm.
we got the feedback from the teachers, and then I went to the pediatrician and I was like, okay, this is what we're seeing. I increasingly got more and more frustrated with Sawyer at home. And mind you, kids with ADHD, they only know what they know. They get hyperstimulated. And if you come at them with frustration, they will meet you with frustration. They will mirror any they will mirror your energy. And
Right.
so we had to change
Oh,
to
yeah.
ensure he was thriving in this environment because it is frustrating because it's kind of like there's a bit of defiance. There is, he just wouldn't sit down and it was just like, "Bup, bup, 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 bup." Even Scarlett was just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like, and then it's so interesting because there are all these meds for it. And once he got diagnosed, it was kind of like, okay, now we know. Let's change behaviors and try to find like a therapist or something like that. And he was probably 4 at the time. We were getting increasingly frustrated at home and it was really challenging. And so, even though we were trying all of these different things, he needed to find a way to calm himself, and so I brought that to his pediatrician, and he recommended like a non-stimulant because we were very hesitant to give him anything else, like a stimulant, right? And it was just so frustrating because we would get calls and, all this stuff. Like, he would just get so easily triggered,
Mhm.
and even with her, so if she does something, he will get so easily triggered, even if someone else starts it,
Mhm.
he will finish it, and he
Mhm.
will be the one to get in trouble, and so the spotlight was always on him because he couldn't manage his body
Mhm.
or his brain, obviously, he's like 4
Mhm.
going on 5, And so we decided to do this very low dose, like non-stimulant, and it helped to control his impulses. And we've since kept him on that, which has been really great. And as he has gotten older, it's been, I guess, a little over a year that he's been on it. Um, last year he was in kindergarten, he was good. He really listened to his teachers, he was just in a good place, and I also think, like, as the parent, you need to understand what environment your child is in, and if he will thrive or not, if he or she
Mhm.
will thrive or not. It is a if it is an environment where there's constant friction and, like, pull them out. Do whatever it takes to get them to an environment, especially this little, where they are thriving. I think that's key. So we had to pull him out of this after school care because it was literally melee, a circus, all the kids just kind of like, I don't know how closely these counselors were watching
Right.
and,
Yeah.
all this weird stuff started happening to Sawyer, like, "Oh, Sawyer got into a fight. Oh, da, da, da," and it's
Oh,
like, he's never gotten into a fight. Like, he doesn't start things, and
right.
so, they would come to us and say, "Well, this boy did this," and da, 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 I'm like,
Mhm.
but Sawyer will never he will never back down, which part of me is like, "Yeah, go get him," but at the same time, like, "Don't get in trouble."
Yeah.
Um,
Right.
so we pulled him out of that environment, and it's been great, and he
Wow.
has been thriving, and then going into 1st grade, as he's maturing, like, not one call, his teachers have just nothing but positive things to say, and one of the big things I was worried about that would keep me up at night, it's like, okay, if he has ADHD, how's he gonna get his homework done? Like, I can't get him down to focus. I mean, I have all of these workbooks. I try to sit there and, just do all these things. What's the extra thing that you can do as a parent? And I was so nervous about it. But going into 1st grade, like, he's finishing all of his homework, going above and beyond. He's like, "Can I do type C on your computer, mom? Like, I just want to get these." Like, just, I'm so grateful and so happy that he's thriving.
Yeah.
And I think, just a little bit of help goes a long way. I mean, just deciding on whether or not to put him on, like, any sort of medication is so heavy for a parent,
Right.
whatever it is, and I just remember reaching out to all my mom friends that have kids with ADHD because it's true, a lot of people have ADHD, a lot of kids have ADHD. Don't get me started with that because of all the things that, is in our food, right? Like,
Totally.
environmentally, all
Yep.
dyes and sugar affects him so differently than it affects Scarlett. I mean, we went on vacation and I was like, "Babe, this affects you." I'm straight up. I'm like, "This affects you differently than it does your sister. You're gonna need to cut off. We're gonna need to cut you off." It's
Right.
like he was like, "Okay." And if you talk to them in such a way and, like, they do have this ability to comprehend and understand, it makes it so much easier, and he was able to do that, and so it made the vacation so much easier to manage, like, but yeah, I mean, that's been the ADHD journey, but it was really hard. I remember getting calls while I was in a big meeting, like this international meeting where all of our, global partners came in and I was just about to present. I'm getting this call from, school because this was the environment he was not thriving in. And it was just, I was like, oh my God, what are we gonna do? Is he gonna be successful in life? What's he gonna do with his like everything under the sun? But, you can only do your best as a parent and do what you feel
Mm.
is right and just leverage all of your resources. And that could just be a mom who's experienced it.
Mhm.
This podcast, you know what I mean? Like, actually, really funny enough, I'll just share this piece with you. Has a child, I think he's on the spectrum. And she was like, no, we're not gonna do meds, et cetera, et cetera. And it was just like no meds. And I commend those who are, who's who stay strong in that, but I also think, like, do as much research as possible because
Right.
you could make their life a little
Mhm.
bit easier,
Mhm.
and, you think about the things that they go through, not just what you're going through with your child, but what their day looks like with their friends and their peers. You don't want your child to be ridiculed, and you want them to be able to control themselves, and sometimes you need a little help, and one person said this to me, it's just kind of like, okay, well, there's a chemical imbalance, right? When you have ADHD or ADD or whatever it is. And if someone had like diabetes or something, that's an imbalance as well. Wouldn't you give wouldn't it be okay to give them that medication to balance themselves out? But for some reason there is just such a stigma. And I don't think there should be. And that's kind of like that has been our stance and it has been very beneficial. And it's just been such a game changer for us. And I'm grateful for all the moms that kind of shared the story with me. So
Gosh. Okay, Anna, thank you so much for sharing that because I think just to like pull apart some things that I just love what you said is like pure gold is the finding an environment where they thrive. I think that is just so like simple, but also I think oftentimes you try to make a situation work for whatever reason because of comfort or whatnot. And
financial,
yes,
yeah.
financial stuff, like all the things that come and weigh in. And sometimes, and you're so right, it's like a change may be the best thing for you. So thank you. I just like love that what you said. There has been a couple conversations I've had in my past with just people in passing that are like, oh, it's having a hard time with a teacher. I don't want to like pull him out. And it's like, they're so young. I mean,
Yeah. They're advocates.
totally, where they're advocates, they're so young. There is so many opportunities that you may not even be aware of, but to like find if there is something better. I just think that's so
Yeah.
powerful. And sometimes it does, it feels like you're stuck or like this is the only option. And I just thank you for sharing
Yeah.
that. Hmm.
I think one other thing I'll say about that is, as a parent, you're like, you kind of pressure your kids to make it work. And like, I would just say believe your kid. You know your kid well enough to know if they're embellishing or if they're deeply like troubled in a situation because if you set this tone of like not believing them and always believing an adult or whatever, that's not good. Like,
No.
they need to know you trust them,
Hmm.
and if you establish that early on, I think, as they get older, they will always come to you, and I think that's the big thing that I always keep in mind, like, how do I approach the situation for a long-term benefit? Like, please always come to me, even if we don't agree. Like, I always tell the kids, "You won't get in trouble if you tell the truth." And then my kids have just gone back. They fibbed, and I know the truth. We always know the truth. It's like, you're lying because you giggled.
Oh,
And
right.
so but the thing is, it's like, if you tell the truth, you will not get in trouble, and I think about them being 19 at a house party drunk. Do I want them to be afraid to call me? No.
Right.
Like, so anyway, that environment thing is just so big. So we pulled him out of that after school care, and then I scrambled to find someone that could come to the house and just help to support. And was it more expensive? Yeah, but the I was able to just rest easy at work, knowing like he had this ability to just sort of still be free without anyone pushing his buttons. And I guess some parents would think like, well, they need to learn how to survive in this, but it wasn't working. And so
Right.
you as a parent can make those decisions to make it, I mean, he's interacting,
Hmm.
but you can just make things a little bit easier. Like, why would you keep pushing your kid to be in an environment that is negative? Like, it's constant negative outcome. So anyway, yeah.
No, I love it. And I think to your point too, is it's like, it's one thing to say like high school or college student who has like the language and the ability and like the understanding of something. But it's another thing when it's like, I just feel like these younger years, it's so impressionable. And so it's like,
Yeah.
how do you fight for that, environment that your kid is going to feel good in and get their self esteem from and like, some life skills and whatnot. So I love that. I think that's huge. And then the other thing that you said, I think is like really key is just obviously everybody making their own decision. And you said, like, specifically, your quote was like, you find your own path as a parent. And one, I would just say, what is your experience with that? And why is that an important thing to remember?
I th I think you figure out who you are when you become a parent, and within that phase, I mean, well, within that time, you have different phases because your children are changing and you're constantly changing. And so when they were younger, I almost felt like that was so much easier. It was just, it was like you told them what to do and they would do it.
Hmm.
It was
Right.
so lovely. But as they get older, they have their own opinions. My kids are very opinionated. And I love and hate it because now Scarlett won't let me dress her. Like, she's
My
like, "I don't
gosh.
want any." I just want soft, comfy clothes. I don't wear denim. Like, she has her own opinion, and I had to struggle, you know, I just recently where it's like, let her be. Like, let her find her own fashion sense, her own person, and just leave her alone. Like, as a controlling mother, it was just you have to take a step back and let them discover themselves, right?
Mhm.
So, I I also get in my head, like, no one wants to be judged, and if my kids are sitting at dinner on an iPhone and an iPad because my husband and I wanna chat, like, I'm in my head like, "Oh god, are people judging me?" And I'm like, "Okay, stop doing that." And you just come to a point where you're like, you do what you need to do, who cares what anyone else thinks? But, in terms of parenting, it was gentle parenting, and then it was like I found myself so stressed out all the time and just constantly yelling at them,
Mhm.
and I'm like, "Wow, I'm traumatizing them. I'm going to
Mhm.
give they're for sure gonna have anxiety."
Mhm.
Like, you catch yourself in the moment, and then, all of these medical advice from IG,
Yeah,
it just, like, gets in your also,
I know.
where but all the resources and the information, like, you take what resonates and you leave the rest behind, um, it really kind of opens your eyes, and you just have to be open to it, and you have to try different ways where you're ultimately, like, what's the goal? You want, like, a calm, safe environment for your children. I think to myself, like, when they're older, what are they going to say about their childhood?
Mhm.
And I think that's sort of the driving force for me because I want them to have like an exceptional childhood, but I also want them to be extremely guided. And we put so much pressure on ourselves, but I also want to push them and challenge them. And I just, you go from gentle parenting to yelling all the time to finding balance. And I think that's kind of the phase that I've gone through and my husband has gone through. I mean, he's a man. They react differently to him.
Mhm.
Sort of. They're still super sassy. It's because they're comfortable and,
Right.
um, but I think I'm at this point now as they're 6 and 9 where it's like, okay, we have to work together and I have to be the parent that supports you and listens but will also push you. And I'm constantly finding ways to just connect with them. Like in the beginning of the year, I felt like Scarlett and I were just not clicking, like at all. Felt
Wow.
like we were always fighting. It was always this push and pull. And it was like really tearing me up inside. And I had a conversation with a coworker, and this woman she's like intuitive, and she was kind of like reading me at a sales
Cool.
conference dinner one night. It
Love
was
this.
so cool. So into it. I'm so into it. Like, um, and she was just like, "Let her be just leave her alone. Like, you are so focused on your son because of the ADHD, and like she just wants you." And there's this, and I also kind of felt like, okay, maybe she's a little bit jealous because maybe I am paying a little too much or more attention to Sawyer than
Mhm.
her. and she's fighting for my attention, and then it comes out where she's just lashing out at me, and so I really tried to make a point this year to connect with her and just, like, leave her alone and not leave her alone, but let her be herself because I felt like our relationship was just me putting pressure on her because she's a girl, she's a strong Leo girl, and I'm a Leo, and we're so similar, and so we're just like this it was this constant clash, and when,
Right.
this woman's I was like, "Okay, I have to work on our relationship this year," and I feel like I have, and we have, and everything that I've as I connected with Scarlett, it's definitely changed our relationship, and it's so much better now. And I'm so grateful for that. But you're constantly recalibrating and you have to assess where you are because they're changing. They're growing up. I mean, puberty is like around the corner. And yeah, I'm so scared of that.
Well, I mean, that's what
God.
okay, so totally. So you're totally saying what I think too is like it is. It's a constant recalibration because they're growing like every month. It's like this new version of them. And so you're like adjusting to them all the time. How and this is like such a loaded question. So answer it however you want, but like how do you balance it all? How do you do like all of the time with family? How do you do all the time at this like, you know, incredible career that you have, incredible role that you have. What are you doing? How are you doing it?
I love it all. I
Yeah.
just love it all. Love being with my kids. Like before I go on a trip, like a week-long trip, I am so sad to like leave them and I'm like, oh, I don't travel often, but I also know myself and I like compartmentalize and I stay as present as possible. And so when you're present, you're giving everything to what's in front of you. If it's your children, make sure you're there. If it's work, be all in. And I'm so grateful that I just like really love my job and I really love the company that I work with and the people that I work with. And so it's so enjoyable. And I think it's like find the things that bring joy in any capacity, like your partner, find ways and you have to take a step back, like, okay, I'm working too much. Let me take let me take a moment and let me take some PTO and focus on my family.
Right.
I'm so focused on the kids. I'm not paying attention to my partner. And so it's
Mhm.
just kind of like where am I? And balance isn't always like this, right? Like perfect. Balance is it's sequential almost like it's more time here, less time here, but more time there, and as time progresses, and I just think you have to love it. For me, I want to enjoy everything that I'm doing. And when you love and you enjoy your life and the things that you've designed because you have full control over the thing. Well, I shouldn't say that. I've been lucky enough to have control over the things that I have in front of me, and I don't know, I just really believe that, like, if
Mhm.
there's something that you're change it, um, and obviously certain I think about different people, but for me, you know, if there's something that I'm not enjoying or if there's strife, I find a way to move away from it.
Right.
Like, why not? Why do you
Yeah.
have to wallow? If something's not good for you, get
Oh,
it out.
love it.
It's
Wise
just like
words, Anna. It's so true. That is a beautiful answer to, the thing that I think like keeps us up at night. And I love it. That's amazing.
balance is the key to life, for
Oh,
sure.
amazing. Okay. Motherhood in general. So I think what is amazing, and one, like you have, because one, I get to have like front seat, of like where, you were at one point in your career and then seeing you from like afar. It's been, I mean, it's so impressive. How has motherhood impacted that for you? And I guess specifically, like, does it impact an ambitious drive? Does it not? Does it cause, mom guilt? Does it not? Like, how has that role worked with all of your other roles?
Gosh, all the things.
I know.
Yeah, I think having a girl, even a boy, right? I'm
Mhm,
always like, I'm having a gentleman. Women are so strong.
mhm,
Like, just feeding him all of these things. But for my daughter, I think I told you earlier on, it's just I want to show her that you can have a career that you absolutely love and find fulfillment in that
mhm.
and have a family, and you could do anything and everything that you want to do. Okay, so I always keep that in mind because my mom was a working mother and I absolutely loved it, thought she was such a boss, and obviously that really impacted me as I grew up. Um Motherhood and a career has been an interesting journey because, like I said, there are times where I was just like, I don't want to work anymore. I just want to be a stay-at-home mom. I want to cook for my family.
Mhm.
I sure I have time to not only do homework with my kids, but also play. I mean,
Mhm.
you have to
I know.
schedule time to play.
I know.
Like, it's so funny, you
Mhm.
know? We're occupied with the Legos, I'm gonna go wash the dishes,
Mhm.
or I'm gonna go do this, where really what you should do is forget the dishes, sit down and play with
Yeah.
your child. Um, but anyhow, I've gone through so many different phases, but as they get older, it changes.
Mhm.
So when they were younger, I wanted to be more present. And a matter of fact, I feel like when they're older, I will want to be more present because they'll have more things to do
Yeah.
without like a nanny or some sort of support. And you have two working parents. It's kind of like how do you juggle it all? And I'm still thinking about, you know, how many activities could they be in after school?
Right.
And, it's so important, like, who's gonna drive them if I'm in the office 3 days a week?
Mhm.
And, so on is like Scarlett's gymnastics, Sawyer soccer, or jujitsu, and, like,
Mhm.
all of these things. So, there are moments where I'm like, "I just wanna be present for that, but, oh, wait, how do we afford it?"
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
but there's ultimately, like, what I find joy and fulfillment in is working also for myself, and I that is such a joy for me, so I think I stick to the whole idea, the ideation of, like, the kids having a working mom is just and seeing a strong mother and strong, female figure is always going to benefit them and make them stronger and make them more respectful, and I just think it's good, to put it simply, mom, that working mom, and no shade by any means because I have these amazing stay-at-home moms that support the school and the kids in such an overwhelming capacity that I'm unable to provide, and so grateful for that as well. But I think what fits for me is just where I'm sitting now.
I love it. I think that's beautiful and really well said.
I love this conversation. I love talking about life and kids and career and just all of the things that make you who you are. And, Elsa, for you to interview just a variety of people and women and their experiences, I think as I was doing a little recon, I love to hear everyone's experience because people only see what they see
Mhm.
until you kind of unveil and go deep. It's just kind of like, wow, I didn't know that person went through that. And they're so strong. And it just shines a light on everyone's different experience. And I just love that so much. And I'm just so grateful that you had me on.
And like I said, I literally, you have been on my mind to have on here because being on, it's one thing to watch like a peer, a coworker go through something from afar. And then, being a manager of people, you manage people's process, transition in and out and see that. And then to be on the other side, it's like literally like I want to hit rewind wind and be like, wait a second. All of these things happened. I had no idea. And um everyone's experience is it's such a moment in time. And I just for me specifically felt so alone in my transition and like it's just been healing to hear other people talk about what they're doing. And I think everybody is curious. How are people doing it? What does the care look like? What does career look like? How do you think about, your role as a parent, as a career person, all of that. It's so fascinating to me.
Especially with social media, right? Like,
Exactly.
what you post and, like, all of the fabulousness, and it's just like, go through stories and reels, and you're like, "How do they do that?"
I know.
Like, how much support do they have?
I know.
How many nannies? And it's just really interesting,
I know.
yeah.
It's that crazy. It is. It is really interesting. And I think we live in such a unique time to be a mother. I think that's the other thing I want to just like capture. And Anna, you're even talking about it. You had to like parent kids through COVID. Like that is such a unique experience that like our generation is going through. We have social media who's telling us how to parent every single day. We're seeing memes that are like, if you don't do this, you're a bad parent. If you do that, you're this. This is how your birthday party should look. I mean, it is
Oh,
bonkers.
birthday party. The birthday parties, I
I know.
cannot. It's a parent thing.
My God, crazy. Okay. Anna, if you were to sum up like being a parent in one word, what would it be and why?
Oh my gosh. One word, sum up being a parent. Agile.
Oh, good one.
Right? Like, get ready to pivot, like, 50 times a day and manage your emotions and self-regulate yourself.
Oh my lord, isn't that the truth? It's like literally by like 8:30 in the morning, my nervous system is like shot for the day.
You really we talk about, like, support your children with self-regulation, and it's like, you really have to learn how to self-regulate your own dang self, because if you can't do that, you can't help anybody else. Um, and those kids, no one will push your buttons like your kids, especially the ones that are exactly like you.
Mhm.
I mean,
Mhm.
my daughter will straight up be like, "No, thanks." I'm like, "Scarlett, can you do?" "No, thanks." I'm like, "Okay, um, what can I take from her?" It's
I
like,
know.
it's so funny and wild, but I would say, I mean, I'm gonna think about that. I'm gonna think about that question. Sum up being a parent. Okay, so I'll stick with agile, but what are some of the answers? Have you asked anyone else this question? I would love to hear other
My God,
answers.
yes. I think people are like it's so funny because some of them are like very sweet, like special, a miracle,
Oh,
magical, and then some of them are like chaos, insanity, like all of these other ones. So a line is amazing. That one is like the very true. I feel that deeply. I think that's like perfect. But yeah, it is funny because I feel like there's kind of like two camps. It's like one is a this type of camp, and then one is the like it's real tough kind of camp.
yeah. And I mean, that boils down to like just the experiences that you're creating, their personality is your personality. The agility piece is huge and
Totally.
learning how to pivot but it is, I think the miracle, there is nothing more miraculous than having kids, and there is nothing more special than having children. Like, I'm so grateful that I was able to have the experience of bringing 2, like, human lives into this world, and you just think about being a woman, like, you are creating life, you're bringing life into this world, and you can sustain life with your body,
Yeah.
period. It's insane.
Crazy.
It's it just being a woman is, like, pretty miraculous.
I know. And I hope the world can catch up to that because I agree. It is so mind blowing that we get to have this responsibility. I mean, truly, it is absolutely mind blowing. And the fact that there are so many people doing this on the daily. I mean, I think there's a baby born every 4 seconds in the world. It's something like crazy like that. And so it's a mother is also being born too. And you're just like, oh my goodness. The fact that that is just not in the front of people's minds every day is wild to me.
Agree. I agree. I think about it all the time. I just had this conversation yesterday with my coworker, and we were just chatting in the lunchroom. And she's like, "Oh, I'm 38. I think I'm going to freeze my eggs." And she's with her partner, and she's like, "Is it worth it?" So we had this whole conversation. I mentioned I was going to go on your podcast, and
Oh,
she's
I
like,
love
"Oh
it.
my god." And I just got to thinking, and I think I said the same thing, to like be able to, the whole bring create life, bring life to this world and sustain life all just with your body. It's like, if she wants it, I hope that happens for her. Like, if she and her partner want it, because it's the most incredible thing in this world. I truly believe that. And it's parenting is not for the faint of heart, I will say. I like wake up in the middle of the night all the time, just like, am I doing enough? Where
Mhm.
are the photo albums?
I
Like,
know.
I think when they're 20, coming home from going out, like, how am I gonna sleep?
I
It's just
know.
crazy about so
No.
much.
I feel the same way. I mean, truly, you're just like, I know. That's why it's hard to imagine. Even, I can't even imagine like a 9 and a 6-year-old. I can't even imagine like school right now
I know.
for those kiddos. So it's just, it is. I mean, what an incredible lifelong assignment we have.
Lifelong Scott, the way you said it. It's true. It's forever. But it's amazing. I mean, my mom says that to me all the time. She's like,
Yeah.
"Mommying will never end."
Mhm.
So, we're lucky.
I know. It is absolutely true. Okay, and then final question, Anna. Where in your world are you crushing it?
Oh my gosh. What a question,
I
Elsa.
know. It's how I end most interviews, and I know it's a hard one, but one, we all deserve to give ourselves a pat on the back, and it's okay to identify and then verbalize and share where we're doing a good job. I think that's important, especially in our parenting world.
At first I was gonna say, like, work, but I think over the past couple of years, I've really focused in on manifesting the things that I want
Mm,
collectively in the
mm,
different buckets of my life, and I think I've been doing a really good job manifesting things that I want in my life and designing it in such a way where, it's just like I was saying earlier, people have this opportunity to just really create the life that they want. And like, why not? Why not dream big? And why not, work toward the things that you really want in life? And like, no dream is too big, and you should just go for it in life. And so manifesting has been like a really big thing for me the past few years. And yeah, I think I'm crushing the manifesting
oh
thing.
my god, I wanna be crushing the manifesting thing. How are you doing it? What are you doing?
So I live in Stevenson Ranch, and I commute to West Hollywood, and so that gives me a lot of driving time to listen to a whole lot of books and listen to podcasts
Mhm.
and people that I deem quite inspirational, like Dr. Wayne Dyer. I don't know if you follow any of this, but are you familiar with his teachings,
Yeah,
like
a little bit.
Gabrielle Byrne,
Oh, definitely.
Abraham?
Oh, definitely.
Like,
Yes.
yeah. Oh, good. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Um, it's just you have so much power as a human being that's so untapped and it's all here. And you can do whatever you want in this world and have whatever you want. And you don't have to feel guilty. If it's like a material thing you want, like you don't have to feel guilty about it. Like work hard, know it's yours, know that you're working toward, be a good person. Like life 101, it's pretty simple. Like be a good person. Just, that's the first thing. Um, I think it's just what your algorithm in your brain. It's like what you feed yourself every single day and how you treat people. And yeah, things come back to you. Things just come back to you.
I mean, you already said it. We are creators in our bodies. We are creating and sustaining life. We can do that. And
Yeah.
we don't think about it, right? We're not thinking about like all the little bones we're putting together for like a baby or the milk we need to produce, right? So it's like we are the creators. We've got this. We can do it. And I think that is just like it's so aligned in the motherhood role. It's so aligned in our careers, so aligned with how we choose to create whatever we want, manifest whatever we want. It's right there.
It is right there. Thank you
Gosh.
so I know, just like talking about everything in life is just it's like talking to a girlfriend, and like all these things that you learn along the way and what you can share with people and you share and you learn, you share and you learn, and you're giving like people a platform for it. I love it.
Thanks, babe. Thank you. Thanks for listening to It's a Circus. If today's episode made you feel a little less alone, share it with a friend who might need it too. We are building something amazing at the Turner Brothers Circus, an entire space designed for parents to find connection, laughter, and support. I'd love for you to be a part of it. Remember, you're doing better than you think. Stay grounded, stay real, and embrace that beautiful mess. And as always, the show must go on. Until next time.